Easy peasy. Hey guys. Alright, so this is our countershaft for the diamond mill. And remember, we had a problem with this, and I was going to go ahead and just duplicate and make another shaft, and I've made a hand sketch and also one in Fusion. I need all the practice I can get in Fusion, so I always try to draw stuff in Fusion when I can. Yeah, so the problem with this shaft is the bearing fits are worn. So that should be a press fit. and it even rattles on there. It's quite a bit of wear. This end not as bad, but still not acceptable. So my first thought was just make a new shaft. You know, it's not that complicated. But I want to try a weld buildup. I haven't done that, and it'd be a good process to learn. So I want to give it a try. I made up a little sample shaft out of just some scrap. I think it's just mild steel. To do a little practice first before we attack this one. Hopefully this is not leaded stock. You're not supposed to be able to weld leaded stock like 12L14. I don't know what type of reaction it would give you. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If we screw it up, we'll just make a whole new shaft. The other thing I'm worried about is warpage. So I don't have a welding positioner or rotator. So I'm going to do a bead on one side, rotate 180 degrees, do another bead, let it cool, come back, and just keep working my way around back and forth until we get it all the way around. Same on both sides. Hopefully that'll keep the warpage to a minimum. Okay. All right, well, let's take a look at the welding equipment. So normally I use the big Miller-Matic 200 for my MIG welding, but it's kind of overkill for that small shaft. So I've got this little Schminder, but I normally just use it for TIG welding, and it does have MIG capability, so I went ahead and put on the MIG gun. And I've been running a lot of test beads to get the settings dialed in. I think we're there. I'm using CO2 gas with O30 solid wire. So yeah, you can see I've been running some test beads. I think I got it pretty good, so we're going to do that little test piece first. Alright, well, we're certainly not going to win any beauty contests. And I had one lapse of concentration over here and went too far. I don't know what happened. And I think we're okay there. Yeah. Alright, well, I'm going to put this in the lathe and we'll take a few cuts and see if we have any porosity. Did undercut over here, but on our actual piece that won't hurt anything. This side is much better. while we're waiting for this to cool. So this is looking much better than the other end. Almost no porosity at all. Little tiny spot right there. I think that'll clean up. So, moral of the story is don't be afraid to add some weld. I was going a little too conservative on the other end. Well, I'm really glad I decided to do a sample piece first, or a test piece. Definitely learned a lot. The first thing was I short on my build-up. I put a little bevel on the end here, but I was definitely short on my weld build-up on the end. Needed to get a little more out there. We ended up with some porosity. Not horrible. I mean, it would be, you could still use it. Functionality would be okay, but we don't want to have that. And then this side, I had plenty of buildup. So and almost, I don't think there's any porosity. Maybe a couple little pinholes under the magnifying glass. But I ended up with a lot of undercut where I was ending my weld. I just came over and I just stopped. I should have came over and let it fill for another half a second before stopping the weld to give it a little more bead thickness. So I'll do that on our final one. Warpage, there is a slight amount of warpage. When it was in the lathe without the center, it was moving a little bit. So when we go to this one, we may have to do some shaft straightening, more than likely. And then trying to hit the dimension. This side I overshot, so it's actually a sliding fit now, not a press fit. Yeah, there we go. And then this side I go, okay, so I'm going to stop a thousandths short, and it ended up, there's a step right here, you can't see it. So this side is the sliding fit for just to get you started. If I can get it started, there we go. And then we hit our step up to our press fit. So I stopped the thousandths short, or the thousandths oversized, and it ended up being the actual finished size that I wanted. So it took a little more off than I was planning. So I think what I'll do is I'll stop a 2 thousandths shy of our final dimension, because my plan was to use a file to get down, because it's so hard to hit that. I mean, we're trying to get to within a half a thousandths to get the press fit. Yeah, so anyways, glad I did the sample piece. The smart thing to do would be to take another run at the sample piece, just to refine my technique a little bit. But we're just gonna go for it. Heck with doing the smart thing. All right, let's do it. All right, well, considering my welding skills, or lack thereof, I'm pretty happy with the results. Still need to check to see, I'm sure we got some warpage throughout all that process, but I think we got a pretty good buildup. I tried to reduce the amount of undercutting from our test piece that we did, so I think we're going to be all right. Let me put this in the lathe and see what kind of run out we got. Not horrible. Let's put an indicator on it. All right, pay no attention to the broken crystal on the indicator. I grabbed this one because it's got the large foot on it, and I'm too lazy to switch over to a different one. I'm going to have to do this in the 4-jaw at some point, but I'm just getting a rough idea right now. So we've got run out on the chuck jaws, so the shaft, if we rotate, is doing this, right? But it's straight in the axial direction. Let's see, do we have room to rotate without hitting the jaws? Let me come back this way a little bit. Okay, yeah, all right, well, we got a little more room. Okay, so yeah, oh, forgot about the keyway. So, what are we getting there about? Disregard the keyway. About 3, so about 3/1000ths run out, but it's not the shaft, it's how it's being held in the jaws, okay? Okay, this is what I'm thinking is our high point right here. So now watch, if I go linear, we're pretty true, okay? Very little movement. Less than a thou, okay? Now, if I come out here, let's re-zero. All right. Okay, so we got a little burr here, so just ignore that. Get out here on the end. So let's just call it 5 thou. So we're 5 thou up on this end, okay? Let's go back and we'll go 180 degrees. I've already been doing this off camera. Okay, that's roughly 180 degrees. Okay, let's re-zero. All right, we'll come out this way and we're dropping off. Not quite the same, but roughly it's 4.5 thousandths. So now it's going down. Okay, so it's definitely warped, and it's going to be back in here is where the warpage happened. See if we can find the lowest spot here. Looks like that was it right there. Come back. Back out. It's about just a hair over 4 thou. Okay, and then if we come back in, let's check the main body here without crashing. Come on, dial. There you go. So this is running pretty true back in here. Okay, so our warpage is right where the weld is, which is where it should be. Okay. All right, so I'm going to mark this side. All right, this is my setup. Just kind of winging it. Got an indicator on here so I can see how much spring back we end up with. Ooh, that might be enough right there. Let's just go a little bit more. Okay, put it back in the lathe. Okay, I just had it in the lathe. That last little tweak didn't do anything, so let's give it a little more this time. Okay, that last one only took out 1 thou, so let's give it a little more. Let me reset our 0. Close enough. Okay, let's try that. All right, I got to get a little more aggressive. We're not getting anywhere. All right, let's try that. All right, so after about 35 times in and out of the arbor press, we're going to call this good for now. Let's go to the high spot, or what was the high. Still got that little mark right there. All right, that's going to be good enough. Now, if we rotate, it's going to look bad because the whole thing is going up and down because of the little bit of run out in the chuck. Okay, we've got to put the forge eye in anyways when we do this, and it's more than likely once we start turning some of this off, it's probably going to move anyway. So we'll probably have to do this at least one more time. And if we run the lathe, that looks a lot better. All right, keep your minds out of the gutters, guys. We all know what it looks like. So I indicated this in off camera. We got a little bump right there where the keyway is. So, all right, we're ready to go. We're going to get this end cleaned up first. Real close to blending. Okay, I'm going to try to do this in 2 more passes, and we're going to speed up a little bit here, see if we can get a better finish. Here we go. Let's use a little bit of oil. Okay, I'm going to take another measurement. I do not want to overshoot this. 6696. 6694. Okay, it's a little warm. I'm going to let it cool for a minute. Okay, this should be the last pass. I'm going to try to get it all in one here. Got to reach in and unlock the cross feed. There we go. Okay, so I left a small amount for filing. Not brave enough to take it right to the final dimension. And of course it hit it right on the money because we were leaving extra. Okay. All right, well, we're going to do it with the file anyways. And we're there. Okay, put a little chamfer on there. Okay, this should be it. Well, I wish the finish was a little better. Might be the end of that insert. Okay, well, let's see how we did. Oops. Okay, well, we're over. It's got a little taper to it. More than a little. Okay, so off camera, what I figured out is this area is a lot harder right by this where the old shoulder was. The weld is much harder for some reason, so that our cutter was pushing back a bit. So I came in with a piece of high-speed steel and just kind of finessed it a little bit and cleaned up that little bit and a little bit of file work. And I think we're pretty good now. Let's take one more measurement. Okay, that's 669 is what we want. We got 6691. And a little further out. 6696. Yeah, we're going to be good with that. All right, so what I need to do now is we've got to clean this part up right here. So I've got to get us a witness mark so we know where to go. Okay, I just set our stop point with the DRO. That line isn't it, it's slightly past that. So I'm just going to touch off here. This lead in is not any critical dimension, it's just a guide to help you get the bearing on. So we're just going to touch off and just duplicate whatever that touch off is all the way just a little bit past that mark. Okay, well here's what we got. So back over here on the main shaft, and that's the part where the big step pulley runs. We're still good. Got about 1 thou. It may have, temperature cycle or whatever may have caused it to move just slightly. But not too bad. Okay. Now if we come over to where we just turned our bearing surface, here, let's line it up with something. So we got a little bit, remember now I've taken the tail stock out. So we got 2 thou total run out. Okay. And if we come further back, let's go back to, there's the where the drive pulley goes on, lasts the small diameter. There's a bad spot. Oh, we're getting into the keyway. Let's zero that again. About what we saw before, roughly 4 thou. Okay. And then if we go out toward the end, maybe 3.5 or 4. I can't go all the way around because of that keyway. Let's call it 4. Yeah, okay, 4 thou. So, is it enough to worry about? So I try to heat straighten it, put it in the press. I might try to heat straighten it. Well, I don't know. I've never done that though. Probably safer to use the press. All right, anyways, that's all we're going to do here in the lathe, so let me get it out of here. Well, that was a bit of an adventure. Tell you, all things considered, setting up the welder, doing some practice welds, making a practice piece and doing some practice welding. I even did some more just ran a few beads before I did the real McCoy here. You know, it all takes time, and you know, then the turning and contemplating and so forth. I think it would have been quicker just to make a new shaft, but I wanted to take a shot at doing a weld buildup for a bearing fit. I've never done that before. The area looks pretty good. One little itty bitty spot there with some porosity. The thing that's weird, I don't know how you deal with this, where the weld undercuts where you stop. I guess you just have to try to build it up a little bit bigger. But that's not going to hurt anything. This end, pretty much the same thing. We hit our dimension by accident. I was trying to leave, well, I did leave about, maybe a thou for filing. But I thought I was stopping way before that. Measured it and almost overshot, but did okay. Yeah, just fine-tuned with the file. I mean, I figured a half thou for the press fit. It's not easy to find information. I was trying to look up a bearing table that gave you the recommended fits, and I didn't come up with anything. So I just, you know, I didn't want a real tight press fit, so I just figured a half thou should be about right. And then we got a little bit of run out in here, so it's still not perfectly straight. It's about 4/1000ths out here at the end. So I don't know, it's a belt pulley, okay? And the original pulley that was on this end was the one that was way out of balance, so I mean, it's got to be probably better than what it was. So I think it's going to be okay. I think I'm just going to go ahead and put it together. If I try to get that last 1 thou or 4 thou out of it, I'll probably end up making it worse or chasing my tail. So yeah, I think we'll just go with it. The bearing fit I think is going to be pretty good. This is not the right bearing. It's an old used bearing, but it's the same dimensions. Yeah, so. Well, anyways, that's another thing checked off the list. This one just definitely took a while just to think about it, and then finally getting a few days with nothing else planned where I could work on it. All right, well, we're gonna wrap this one up, and I think we're gonna get into maybe some scraping next episode. We'll see. Okay, thanks, guys.